Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Today's daf is daf Yudalad and Zvachim. We start from the two dots around 6-7 lines from the top. The Mishnah said that there are four avoidus, that if you think by one of those avoidus, Shalom Lishma, it passes the carbon. Reb Shimon said that halacha is not included. Why? Because halacha is efsher beli halacha. You could do it without halacha. Why? Because you could check it close to the mizbeach. So Reb Shimon machshe behilach. Omer shlakish. Omer Shimon lakish. Moide Reb Shimon by lachas chatois apnimiyas shemachshava peselas behu. Reb Shimon is moide by a chatos apnimi that the machshava passes hoyel v'avoida she'ein yochel avatlo. Since the halachas adam from the azara has to be brought into the heichal. That's you can't do without, because you have to shecht it to find. You have to shecht it outside, and they have to bring the dam inside. Only
for the mizbeach hachitzon, that was the place where they.
Yeah, al yerach hamizbeach tzefayna. Yeah, so then so you have to bring the heichal, you have to bring the dam inside the heichal. Therefore, he would be moed over there. Asks the Gemara, he's moed there that it passes va'omer Reb Shimon. Kol she'eino yala mizbeach achitzin kishlomim, ein chayovin olav mishin pigel. Reb Shimon is the one who says later in the Mishnah Mem Gimel that any carbon that is not like the mizbeach, doesn't get nikra for the mizbeach achitzin kishlomim. There's no chiv pigel. Why? Because the ganze din pigel is learned from shlomim. So it's only relegated to the mizbeach achitza, not to chatas apnimi, which comes onto the mizbeach zov, the mizbeach apnimi. So there you're not chayiv mishan pigel. So you see that machshava doesn't passel at all by any of the avodas. There's no pigel there. Gemara assumes that psul shaloi l'shmo is like pigel. So just like there's no pigel by hachatas apnimi, because it's not like shlomim, so there would be no psul shaloi l'shmo. There's no psul either. Amar Rabbi Yossi Reb Chanina says nisht. There's no pigel, which means there's no chi of chorus. That's what Reb Shimon meant. But moida hoya live soil, but he's moida to passel the chatas. Avada the chatas will become passel with a machshavas pigel. It means that when he says it doesn't get the din of pigel, means that there's no chorus if you eat it. But avada the carbon would be passel even by a chatas apnimi. Why? Because kavachomer has a kavachomer. Masher loy lishman shehochshru b'shlamim. Yeah, if a guy koyin shechtza shlomim sheloi lishma, we already said in the first Mishnah, the first line of our Masechta, kol azvachim shenizbuchu l'shma ksherim, which means shlomim, including shlomim. Yet posel bechatas chutz lizmanoi shepoisel b'shlomim ein adin sheyifsel bechatois. So shloi lishman, which is kosher by shlomim, yet it's posel by chatas. So chutz lizmanoi posel b'shlomim certainly. Shepasel v'echatas. Says the Gemara, v'ashkechon chutz lezmanoi. So now you have a makar that chutz lezmanoi will pasel by echatas apnimi. Even though it doesn't become pigel, there's no chorus on the achila, but it still becomes pasel. Chutz lemekaymai minola. And how do we know chutz lemekaymai? Chutz lemekaymai is a separate ister, right? But in Torah there's no chorus by chutz lemekaymai. It's just a psul. But how would you know to pasel echatas apnimi chutz lemekaymai if it's not karev al mezbech achitzin kishlamim? Says the Gemara, if you're going to learn it from a mamatzinu, from chutz lezmanoi, once we see chutz lezmanoi passes by a chatas apnimi from the kavachomer we just mentioned, so to chutz lemekaymoi, I could tell you mal chutz lezmanoi shekain kares. Maybe chutz lezmanoi is unique because it has a chumrah of kares. By other karbanos, when there's pigel, chutz lezmanoi passes in a way that if somebody eats it, it's kares. But so chutz lemekaymoi does. There's no kares. There's some mechatesi to learn it from mamatzinu from chutz lezmanoi. Or imam if you're going to try to learn it from the halacha of shaloi l'shma, in other words, you want to make the same kal v'chomer you made to prove chutz lezmano, you want to also make the same kal v'chomer to prove chutz lemekaymai. What would be the kal v'chomer? That madach shlomim, that shaloi l'shma is kosher, yet it's possible by chatas. Chutz lemekaymai that passes by shlomim, certainly it should pass by chatas. Use the same logic that you proved chutz lezmano applies to a chatas apnimi from a kal v'chomer from shlomim. Use the same logic by chutz lemekaymai. Says the Gemara, no, chutz lemekaymai wouldn't work. You know why? Because chutz lemekaymai has a chumrah that Shaloi Lishma doesn't have. What's the chumrah of chutz l'mekaymai? Shekei noyeg b'bama. Sorry, Shaloi Lishma is a chumrah, not chutz l'mekaymai. Shaloi Lishma is a chumrah that it's noyeg b'bama. So if Shaloi Lishma is a chumrah, it's noyeg b'bama. So you can't learn it from a kal v'chomer from Shaloi Lishma. You can't learn chutz l'mekaymai from Shaloi Lishma. Because I can tell you, you know why Shaloi Lishma passes by a chatas? Because noig b'bama. What's a bama? A bama means before the din was to bring everything to the Beis Hamikdash, to be shech to the Beis Hamikdash, right? It was still mutter to be makriv karbonas when a bama's yachid. So the outside the azara, outside.
Well, there was no base English in time of the moment.
Right. So there was no issue of chutz l'mekaymeh because that's exactly what a bama is. A bama could be chutz l'mekaymeh, right? It could be anywhere. There's no isser chutz l'mekaymeh. By definition, that's what a bama means. You can do it anywhere. So there's still an isser of shloi l'shma. So you see, shloi l'shma is more chamur than chutz l'mekaymeh. So you can't learn chutz l'mekaymeh from a kavachomer of shloi l'shma. Says the Gemara, not really. It's not a good pircha. Shloi l'shma b'may noyeg b'pesach achatas. Pesach achatas b'bama lekarvu. Pesach and achatas, you weren't allowed to be makriv by a bamas yachid. You had to bring it to the Mishkan. You had to bring it to the Beis Hamikdash or the Mishkan, right? The Iba Yisema, or you could say, how would I know chutz l'mekaymai? Hekeshahu. I would learn chutz l'mekaymai by a chatas apanimi that it passes from a hekesh. It says shlishi zechutz l'zmanoi, pigel zechutz l'mekaymai. It says next to the iser chutz l'mekaymai is next to the iser chutz l'zmanoi. So just like chutz l'zmanoi is aser from a kal v'chomer from shlomo, so chutz l'mekaymai is also pasels. Okay. All right. So now we have a makar for chutz l'zman and chutz l'mekaymai according to Reb Shimon by chatas apnimi. Okay. Now we're going back to Shitas Reb Shimon. Guten Reb Rechavia.
Good, Rabbi.
Yeah. We're up to Yudalid Amar Aleph.
Okay.
By Amar Rava, which is 4 lines from the bottom of the narrow lines on the Amid. Omar Rava. Yudalid Amar Aleph. Yeah. So the Gemara says like this. Omar Rava. We're going back to Reb Shimon. Again, what's Shitas Reb Shimon? That Halacha is not one of the avodas that is subject to the Isser of Shaloi Lishma. Shaloi Lishma doesn't passel by Halacha. You know why? Because Halacha is not necessary for the carbon. You could check it right next to the Mizbeach and you don't need Halacha. So therefore, even if you don't do it next to the Mizbeach, Halacha is not a necessary. It's Efshir B'li Halacha. If it's Efshir B'li Halacha, it's not subject to the laws, to the psul of Shaloi Lishma. It means so if a Kohen thinks B'shas Halacha, when he's makriv shlamim, that I'm being moilechit l'shem oila, no problem, no problemo.
So basically just shchita and zrika. Those are the only times when there's an issue.
That's right.
Yeah.
Shchita,
and zrika.
Kabbalah,
Okay.
Kabbalah and zrika.
Right.
Omar Rava, so Rava said like this. So again, it's right over here.
Okay.
Omar Rava. It's 4 lines from the narrow lines. Omar Rava, intim tzeloymar, if you're going to say Reb Shimon Savala Kibrei, Reb Shimon Bar Yechui holds like the son Reb Elazar. Reb Elazar Bar Reb Shimon. The Omar. Reb Elazar Bar Reb Shimon says, Bein ulam v'la mizbeach tzafain. Yeah, that Bein ulam v'la mizbeach is also, nechshav, is also considered tzafaina, which means you can shecht the carbon chatas, hapnimi, even in the shetach of the ulam. So here is mamish. This is the dugma right here, right? So the mizbeach achitzon is in the azara, right here in this area, right? Mizbeach is in this area.
Right.
The ulam is the area between the heichal and the azara. It's the space over here. Okay.
Where is the duchen? Where is the duchen? The duchen is here.
This is the ulam.
I know, but I'm saying where.
And the heichal, the mizbeach apnim is inside this building right here.
I want to know where the.
See, this shows it a little easier. Because this is the ulam.
Yes.
This is the mizbeach.
Yeah.
And this is where the steps
Beautiful.
are. So
Yeah, that's
So
what it is.
So this is the duchen here. This is right.
What's duchen?
What?
What's a duchen?
The duchen are the steps
Where
where the kohanim stand.
the steps.
12 steps?
No, see,
12 shir
No,
amalas.
it's probably here, I would imagine.
no, that goes to the.
Okay, but either way, this is the ulam right here, and the kohen has to bring the dam from the tzefoina to walk into the eichel where the mizbeach hapnimi was.
Okay.
So now, zokt. Okay, so again, this is the azara. The mizbeach is right here. He shechts it on the north side of the mizbeach. Then he has to walk, the rest of the azara through the pesach ulam, through the ulam. The area of the ulam, I believe, was 11 amas. Then you went to the Heichal, which was 40 amas long. So you had the Mizbeach inside the Heichal. You had the walk into the Heichal from the Azar, which is the Ulam. Now the question is, could the Kohen potentially shech the Chatos in the Ulam area? We know he has to shech it in the Azara, right? But could he also shech it in the Ulam area? If he could shech between the Heichal and the Azara, this space right here.
Okay, so I'm wrong.
So if Reb Shimon holds, like his son,
this is the duchen, and not that.
Before the Azar.
Right.
Okay. So the Gemara says like this: Imtim tzeloy mit Reb Shimon Sovla Kivrei, the Omar Beina Ulam v'Lamizbeach Tzafain, that this area is also kosher for shchita, right? For the shchita's chatas, it's also considered Tzafain, even in the Ulam zone. Yeah. So ein machshava moyeles ba'halachas chatos aprimis el mepesach Ulam v'lefnim. Only I'm sorry, I meant to say like this. Beina ulam v'lamizbeach, sorry. The area outside here, not the inside.
Wait, from the Mizbeach?
From the Mizbeach, there's a space to the Pesach ulam, to right here.
Right. Okay,
I made a mistake. The Gemara is going to talk about this in a moment. Okay, first the Gemara talks about this space. From the Mizbeach, hachitzayin, and the Azarum, to the walk, to the entrance of the ulam. So there, if he holds like Reb Shimon, who says that anywhere between the Mizbeach and the Pesach ulam in that area is kosher for the shechita, that means that technically the kohen could have shechted it by the Pesach ulam. So the halacha from the Mizbeach, from the tzafon of the Mizbeach to the Pesach ulam, is technically not necessary. Had the kohen shechted it by the Pesach ulam. So Mamela, according to Reb Shimon, there would be no psul of shaloi l'shma if he thinks he has a machshava there, because technically it's not necessary.
Right?
Yes. The imtim tzalomer savalak Rabbi Yehuda, the Omar toichazara mekadesh, that even the toichazara, the floor of the azara, is mekadesh, just like the mizbeach. In other words, what does it mean? It means that technically a kohen can be maktir, whatever needs to be maktir. The Zvachim, we'll talk in a moment, can be maktir on the floor of the azar. The floor of the azar has the same kedusha as the top of the mizbeach, hachitzon. That's Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. Which means technically,
that whole area,
the whole floor, the ritzbas azara,
right.
Which means that technically, if you have a mincha, or the bezichin, we'll see the bezichin were the two, the two spoons that had the lavoina,
right?
The frankincense inside that you left mishabas l'shabas with the lechem upon him on the shulchan. Then after you removed the bread at the end of the week, you took the bezichin that had the lavoina inside. You walked it to the mizbeach achitzin, and then you were makter on the mizbeach achitzin. So that halacha is necessary, right? Is necessary, but how necessary? It's necessary to leave the heichal. That walk is for sure necessary. Then to leave the ulam is also necessary. But from the ulam till the mizbeach, according to Rabbi Yehuda, is not necessary. Why? Because technically, because the ritzbas azara has kedushas mizbeach. So if the kohen wanted, technically again, he could be maktered on the floor of the azara. So therefore, if you have a machshava of shaloi l'shma from your walk, during the walk from the ulam till the mizbeach, it's not possible because you don't need it. Right. That's the next intim tzaloymer.
So I just want to ask you. So the ketoras stayed on the shulchan all week?
Yes.
Okay.
Not the ketoras, the bezichin.
The bezichin
with the lavoina, the frankincense.
Yeah. And it stayed because that was supposed to be on top of the lechem upon him, right?
Yeah.
That rested on the lechem upon him all week.
Yeah.
And then when the kohanim ate the lechem upon him, the the bazikin was brought to the mizbech.
Correct. That's
Okay,
exactly
good.
what we just
Okay.
said. Yes.
Okay,
So that's
fine.
it.
I just wanna
So
make
so
sure.
the
Yeah.
walk. So just all the Gemara is saying that according to Rabbi Yehuda that the floor of the Azar is kedushas mizbeach. The walk from the ulam to the mizbeach won't passel if you had a machshava shlo lishma. If you're like Rabbi Yehuda that says the first wide line, the first word. You have ve'imtem tzoloima.
Yeah.
So like Rabbi Yehuda damatei chazar mekadesh ein machshava me'eles. Then a pasel machshava wouldn't help to passel the carbon. Ba'hilacha silig bezichen ela mi pesach heichal velachutz. Notice how he says from the pesach heichal. Why? Because the shulchan technically can be moved also to the pesach heichal, right? Because as long as it's in the heichal, right, the menorah
Anywhere within the area of the hay.
yeah, so in other words, so really, again, whatever is not necessary technically, whatever steps the kohen technically doesn't have to take, there's no psul of shloi l'shma during that halacha.
Yeah, right.
So here, mi pesach heichel the ulam, that's necessary because you gotta get past that point. But from the pesach ulam v'lachutz, there's no problem anymore.
Is there some kind of a delineation from the edge of the mizbeach that area from the edge of the mizbeach until the heichal is all kaddish. It all has the din of the mizbeach.
Yeah.
Right now, how far does that extend?
That's a very good question. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look in the next. You see the picture?
It sounds like the Toich Hazara is Bein Ulam V'la Mizbeach. It's only this area between the Mizbeach and the Ulam.
So
that has Kedushas Mizbeach, not the
Now,
whole
that's
Hazara.
from the eastern edge of the mizbeach.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay.
Exactly.
And it's a line that goes all the way across the.
It's that whole section.
That's what I'm saying. But it goes. In other words, it goes from there to both of the walls of the Azara.
That's
correct?
Pashtus.
Yes.
It.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pashtus. Yeah. We're going to learn about it.
1483.
What?
1483, the picture. You see that picture? The second picture.
Okay, a couple of more Vimtim Tzeloimars. Yeah, we're done with 2. Now we have another 3 to go. 3 to go. Vimtim Tzeloimar, Savar Kedushas Heichel, V'ulam Chadi. If you're going to say, wow, this is murder.
Yeah, okay. Good. Right.
If you're going to say
Good.
that the Kedushas Heichel extends into the Ulam, wow. Again, technically you could put the Shulchan in the Ulam also.
Yeah.
So once you could put the Shulchan in the Ulam, that means that the walk from where the Shulchan is placed until the Pesach Ulam is also not necessary, technically speaking, because the Shulchan would be kosher to be placed in the Ulam itself, because the Ulam has the same Kedusha
As the
Heichal, if you hold like that. The Imtim Tzlaim Savar Kedusha Heichal Ulam Chodehi has the same Kedusha, which means it's kosher to put the Shulchan and the Buzichin in the Ulam.
So in other words,
Ein Machshava Moyeles Elo Mi Pesach Ulam Velachutz, which means, unbelievable, then the Machshava of Shaloi Lishma would only passel here in the doorway of that leads from the Ulam to the Azara. In that doorway, because in that doorway doesn't have Kedushas Mizbeach, the
Does not.
Ritzpah,
Yeah.
and it also doesn't have Kedushas Heichal. You can't put the Shulchan there. So those couple of steps, maybe 2 steps that you have to take, as you enter the airspace of the doorway, the arch of the Ulam to the Azara, that would be the only 2 steps that would passel by halacha. Because that would be the only necessary steps you have to take. Because technically, you can have the shulchan right inside by the door of the ulam, and you can makter it right outside of the floor of the azara. Yeah.
So again, this is actually a doorway.
Yes.
This is solid.
Which leads
in this particular. It's solid, but you're saying in fact this is a doorway.
Yes,
right?
this is a
And
very wide doorway.
Right. Inside it has kedusha.
Heichal.
Right,
And
Heichal.
here it has Kedushas Mizbeach.
Right.
So in other words, here, but you can have the shulchan right by the door,
Right.
and you can be makter it right outside this
Right.
door. So the only necessary halacha you have to go, the only few steps you really have to take,
Right.
is the one in the doorway.
Now the kedusha of this and the kedusha of that are the same.
No.
So this
Heichal
is-
Kedusha is higher Kedusha.
Much higher. Okay.
Yeah. V'imtim tzaloimar. And if you'll say, unbelievable, take a look, the Gemara is going even weiter. V'imtim tzaloimar, Pesach, Toicha Pesach kelefnim, that the airspace of the door that leads from the Ulam to the Azara also has Kedusha Heichal, means you can put the Shulchan in this area right here, in the doorway. Mamish literally by the step of the Azara.
Okay, so but there's 15 steps there.
Oh no, but the steps are still outside of the ulam. So which means that all you got to do, simply speaking, is stretch your hand out. Right? It doesn't even have to take a step. All you got to is stretch your hand out
From
the door, the outermost section of the doorway,
Right.
of the ulam,
Right.
and then be makter it on the floor of the Azara. You don't
That's
even have
it.
to take any steps.
Right.
Oh, so that's the Gemara
How
saying.
wide is
the
this? How
imtim
is-
tzeloyma? I have to look it up. The imtim tzeloyma toicha pesach kelefnim ein machshava me'eles afilu psia achas. It wouldn't even be one step.
One step, yeah.
Elo b'chdei shatas yadai. Only hashatas hayad. That would be the halacha that would passel if b'shas shatas yad. The kohen thought shiloi lishma. Yeah, that would passel. Yeah, that only that second. Okay, that will come out according to Rabbi Shimon. Says the Gemara, finally, the imtim tzeloymar, that he saw savar halacha shaloi beregel loishma halacha. And if Rabbi Shimon holds that halacha that doesn't involve the movement of your feet is not called halacha, which means a shatas yad is not really halacha, a mechshava me'elis klal, then you'll never have a case where machshava by a chatas apnimi would passel the carbon, machshava shlo yishma would passel the carbon, because technically nothing is necessary, right? Nothing is really necessary. There's no steps necessary to take, and even a shatas yad, which is necessary to move the bazichin, the levaina, from inside to outside, is not called halacha. Okay. So now the Gemara is going to be done over here in Yonei halacha. Yeah, so Abaye said to the translator of Rav Chizda, please ask Rav Chizda the following shayla: Halacha bazar mahu, is halacha ksheira bazar or not? Zar is Yisrael.
Right.
So we know shchita is ksheira bazar.
Yes.
Kabbalah is aser bazar.
Right.
But there's no misa b'deshamayim.
Right.
Zrika is aser, but zechiv misa b'deshamayim if a zar does it. That's
Right.
even worse.
Right.
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 Halacha is a gray zone. What's the halacha by halacha? Bizarre. Amrlei, it's ksheira. It's kosher, just like shchita. In Mikra Masayeni, you have a right from a pasuk of Ayamim. Vayishchatu es apasach v'yizruk hakahanim miyadam. Key word over here, miyadam. V'alaviyim afshitim. So the Gemara wants to say, what's miyadam? Miyadam means which hands? Whose hands? It means the hands from the zar.
Okay.
Right?
So in other words, again.
So basically like this. Let's say the Kohen shechts it, he's makabel the dam and a klisharis, and
Right.
then he puts the dam into the hands of the zar. The zar walks it to the mizbeach.
Right, and then
the Kohen meets him there and does the zrika. That's pashtus what it sounds like. That a yizruk kahanim mi yadam, whose hands? Means not the kahanim.
You sure
Right.
have to walk
Wait.
into the Azara.
Wait, so-
Yeah, no, Yisrael can walk into the azara. He can walk into the azara,
Wait, so
and he's
another-
going to be zayrik the dam. So it sounds like a Yisrael, a zar is ksheira b'halachim. He's
again,
walking
so
it.
so Kabbalah is aser bazar, right?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to go over in Chazar. The Kabbalah's Adam is aser bazar, but
There's no chiyuv misa.
There's no chiyuv misa. But
Zrika
Zrika there
Is
is.
a chiv misa.
Yeah.
Shchita's kosher. Halacha, he
right,
wants to prove
right,
the pasuk
right.
is kosher
Because
as well.
these things are just-
Maser Rav Sheshes, we have to go back to Maser Rav Sheshes. Sheshes asking the brisa. Zar, what about a zar? V'oinen, yeah, it's a brisa. Zar, which is Yisrael. V'oinen, a kohen that's an oinen. What's an oinen? An oinen is somebody who lost one of the 7 krovim.
before the Kvura.
Shikr, a kohen that's drunk, intoxicated. Yeah, somebody with plastered, tipsy. I mean, I think that drunk is the word that has the most English synonyms. Okay,
Yeah.
a balmum. Yeah, somebody who's a balmum, which is not allowed to do the avoid. The balmum is puzzle. So let's say, if either one of these people did the Kabbalah, Ba'ilocha, or Zrika, puzzle. Clearly, one of
Again.
these people is a zar. It says puzzle. V'chein, Yoshev, somebody who's sitting b'shas davoid, not allowed to sit. V'chein, small, somebody does it with his left hand. So what do you see from there? You see clear from the Braisa that a zar is puzzle Ba'ilocha. Tiyufta, tztaka kasher of Chizda. Ask the Gemara, Iber of Chizda Krok Amar. Rav Chizda brings a pasuk. How could the Braisa, it's sharing the Braisa? Says the Gemara, no. The Ovid Maisa Itztabo. The way the Brisa learns the pasuk miyadam doesn't mean that they walked the dam to the mizbeach. It means that their hands served like a bench, like a stool, or like a table, and
To hold the
just
kli.
to hold the kli next to the mizbeach. They didn't.
Passive.
Yeah, just passive. They didn't actually do the walking, and that's miyadam. That's all it means.
Wait, so in other words, they could turn around and that,
No, they held it like they were the.
okay, so the Kohen.
There was no stools. There was no.
Nothing, right.
Oh,
So the
yeah.
Kohen, right, so the Kohen was
place.
Makabal the Dam in a Klisharis.
Yeah, and he walked it.
And he walked
And
right.
ich weiß, the Kohen needed to fix his
Whatever was
his
it.
whatever. So he put the thing.
Like a pedestal.
Okay. Yeah,
Right.
that's
So
all.
he put it on the hands of the Zor.
Yeah, and Lamaisai,
And the Zor gave it back to the same Kohen or a different Kohen.
the same Kohen, Pashtus,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Rabbi Rav Yosef Damar Tavai Alocha Bazar. Machlekas Rishim Rabbanan. They want to say that this Shaila, whether Alocha is kosher Bazar, is Machlekas Tanoim, Reb Shimon by Yechui, and the Heilige Chachomim. Reb Shimon the Omar, Avoida she'ef shelavatlo lav avoidei, ksheira Bazar. Reb Shimon that says that any time you have an avoida that you could do without, technically you don't need it because you could check it right next to the mizbeach. So
Yeah,
halacha
right.
is not considered an avoida, so it's ksheira bizarre. Well, Rabbanon who hold halacha is an avoida, they be psul, they be pasal bizarre. Amr lu Abaye, so Abaye said like this: V'shchita. What about shchita? The avoida she'i afshel levatla uksheira bizarre. What are you telling me? You're telling me that if it's e afshel levatla, then it's possible, and if it's afshel levatla, it's kosher. That's where Reb Shimon holds. Eiloch is afshel levatla, it's kosher because it's not an avoida. What do you mean? That's not the deciding factor whether Yisrael could do it or not. Because I see even shchita that is an avoida, it's kosher bizarre. Amri lei shchita lav avoidi. They said no, shchita is also not considered an avoida. So eiloch and shchita are not avoidas. Kabbalah and zrikar. That's why it's possible bizarre.
So you're saying
Whereas
that shchita-
v'loi. Veloy, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Veloy asks the Gemara, V'omer Reb Zeira Omer Rav, Shchitas Pora Bezor Psula, Shchitas Pora Aduma. Here we're talking about Shchitas Pora
Right,
Aduma.
right.
Right? If a Zor shechts it, it's possible. Ooh, oh yeah, V'omer Rav Allah, and Rav explains it, Elazar V'chuka Ksevba, because it says Elazar was a Kohen. V'chuka Tzegzeres HaKosov, so you see from here, that shchita is nechshav and avoida, because you see by paraduma we're makpid that it should be a kohen. Why are we makpid by paraduma it should be a kohen? Obviously because shchita is an avoida, and yet, and every other carbon is ksheira bizarre. So that's the kasha. So you see, even avoida she'ef shelavatla is ksheira bizarre. Paraduma is an exception because that's a chukah, right? That it needs a kohen. But akapan if it needs a kohen, you see that it's an avoida. Says the Gemara, no shani para the kache bedek abayasi. No, you can't bring a raya from Paraduma because Paraduma is Kachem Bedek Abayis.
Right.
So Avada, it's not even a carb, it's not Kedushas Aguf, it's Kachem Bedek Abayis, it's Kedushas Damim. So Mamela, Avada doesn't have a Torah's Avoida Bachlal, so why do you need a Kohen? It's Kseres HaKosov. It's Kseres HaKosov. But certainly it's not an Avoida, you can't prove from there that Shchit is an Avoida. Asks the Gemara, now this Gemara's Kasha, Makshin misunderstood the Teretz. Yeah, the Makshin thought that that really what the Tartzin was saying was that it is an avoida, but Bedek Abayis is different for some reason. Gemara says, what? If it's an avoida and Bedek Abayis requires koyin, so v'lav kolshkenu, it's a kavachaymer. Kache Bedek Abayis. Have you avoida and it requires, it's an avoida by Kache Bedek Abayis, that's why it requires a koyin. Kache is beyach. Lav avoida. You're going to tell me kachem mizbech kedushas aguf. You do shchita on kachem mizbech. It's not an avoida. Koshkin, it's an avoida. Yeah. Like now, again, the Makshin misunderstood the Tartzin. The Makshin thought that the Tartzin was saying that really it is an avoida, but Bedek Abayis is different, right? Yeah, Bedek Abayis is different. So he's saying it's only Bedek Abayis it's only avoida by Bedek Abayis. Saying Bedek Abayis is an avoida. Koshkin by kachem mizbech it's an avoida. Says the Gemara of Shish Beit Ravidi. No. What I meant to say was, Tartzin is clarifying. What I meant to say was, Avada, it's not an Avoida. Why do you need a Kohen? So if it's not an Avoida, why do you need a Kohen? What's Midi Dahava Amaris Negoyim? Just like Amaris Negoyim. The Lav Avoida, it's not an Avoida. Ubaya Kahuna. Yeah, you need a Kohen to look at it. So you see that sometimes the Torah requires a Kohen even in a place where it's not an Avoida. Looking at a Nega, shechting a carbon, the paraduma.
Right.
So even though it's not an avoida. So that's the Gemara saying, you know why shechita is ksheira bizarre? Because shechita is not an avoida. Finished. Paraduma. It needs a kohen. Obviously, it must be an avoida. Nisht, it's not an avoida. Why does it need a kohen? Comparison to goyim. Sometimes you find that you need a kohen even when it's not an avoida. Look more weiter. Vayirloches Ivarim la kevesh. The avoida she'efshel levatlohi. The halachas Ivarim. Till now we talk about halachas dam, right? You shecht it, you makabel the dam and klishars, then you walk the dam to the tzad mizbeach, and then you do the zrika.
Right.
Now we're talking about halachas Ivarim. Halachas Ivarim means now you take the Ivarim, you maktir it on top of the mizbeach. You have to go over the kevesh. Yeah. So the avoida she'efshel levatlohi. This is an avoida. It can be mevatel. Why? Because you don't have to be moilech the Ivarim from the azara. You can be moilech. You can be mafshit. You can do all the work to get to the emurim, whatever you have to be makter in the mizbeach, all the evarim, mamish right next to the mizbeach, right next to the fire. A psula bizarre, and yet it's possible by a zar. V'hikra v'koyin as a koil. V'hikra mizbecha v'omamar zuay lochas avarim lekevesh. You see, it needs a koyin. The Torah is makpid. So again, the Gemara is asking like this: you wanted to tell me there are Shimon who says anytime you could do away with part of the avoida, it's ksheira bizarre. So halacha would be ksheira bizarre because you could do without halacha, right? So Gemara says not true. Halacha saivarim you could do without, and still the Torah is makpid. You need a kohen. So how could you assume in Reb Shimon that because you don't need a halacha by the halacha's dam because shecht next to the mizbeach, it's ksheira bizarre? Not really. Halacha saivarim you could do also next to the mizbeach, and it's psula bizarre. So Gemara says you're right.
One second. So bringing the avarim onto the mizbeach.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's pashut that only a kohen could be on the mizbeach.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why it's possible by zor.
Okay, but you see that even though the kohen could do without, let's say Yisrael did it. Let's say Maisi did it. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Is it kosher or not? So the Torah says it would be puzzle. It's not something you necessarily need. It's only. If you shechted it next to it, you wouldn't need the halacha b'chlal. So why should it be psula bizarre? If the deciding point would be whether it's necessary or not, if it's not necessary, it's ksheira bizarre. If it's necessary, it's psula bizarre. Why would this be psula bizarre? Halacha zavar is not necessary. So the Gemara says, you're right. Heichad de gali gali, heichad de loy gali loy gali. You're right. Here, there's exeris akasav. Torah says v'ikra v'koyin. But misvara, where the Torah didn't say v'ikra v'koyin, by halachas dam, you won't need a koyin dafka. Taka ksheira bizarre, it's not an avoida, or it's not. You could do without it. Where it says v'lav kolshkenu amai halachas avarim lekevesh deloy ma'akva kapara boy kahuna, which means, let's say a person wasn't makter the avarim, the koyin didn't get around to be makter the avarim. Does the bailam still get a kapara? Absolutely. Right, it's not ma'akav kapara, and yet the Torah is makpid. Who should do it? The koyin. He needs a koyin even though it's not ma'akav kapara. Yeah, boy kahuna halachas dam the ma'akav kapara loy kolshkin that you need a koyin. If the Torah is megala by halachas avarim that you need a koyin, even though it's an avoida she'efshel levatla, you need a koyin. Don't tell me the gali gali the loy gali. So halachas dam. The Torah didn't mention a kohen, so it's kosher bizarre. No, vada not. It's a kal v'chaymer. Because halachas evarim is less chamor. Because it's not ma'akav the kapara. You don't need for kapara. And yet the Torah says kohen. So certainly halachas dam, the ma'akav kapara, loy koshkin. Okay, itmenami, Omer Ula, Omer Abelazar, halacha bizarre, psula filu Reb Shimon. You can't subjugate the machloikas of Reb Shimon and the Rabbanan to this shaila of halacha bizarre ksheira psula, because everybody agrees, just because Reb Shimon holds that there's no psul of shaloi l'shma, because you could do without halacha, doesn't mean necessarily that the halacha will be ksheira bizarre. Reb Shimon agrees that it's psula bizarre as well. Okay, iboilu, next shaila. Halacha shaloi beregel. Yeah? Halacha shaloi beregel. Shma halacha or loy shma halacha. Right? If a person is standing next to the mizbeach, right, and he just is moishet, rotate. Okay, the Gemara is going to talk about that. Where's the Toshima?
We're talking about a zor or a kohen?
A kohen.
Okay.
Kohen, stam. Yeah, we're talking about a regular kohen. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, kohen by shaloi l'shma, let's just say. Yeah? Shaloi Lishma, according to the Rabbanan, passels by halacha. But let's say it was just Moshe Yad. Would it passel? Does that have a Shem halacha? Or even a Zar? A Zar, he stretches his hand out and is mekarev the dam closer to the Mizbeach through his hand being stretched out and handing it to the Kohen. Would that, if a halacha is psula bizarre, is that considered a halacha that would passel the carbon? That's the shaila. Halacha shaloi b'regel. Shema halacha, oiloi shema halacha. Says the Gemara, Toshamal, come and bring you a raya. Yeah, it says in the Brisa, v'chein yoshev, v'chein small pasul. It says if a kohen is yoshev b'shas avoda, or he does it with his left hand, it's pasul. Period. Yeah. So over here, we're talking about a yoshev. What kind of avoda can you do when you're yoshev? So you could do shchita, you could do kabbalah, you could even do zrika. Can you do a lacha b'yoshev? Huh? Right. But okay, so let's say you violated that halacha. Does it passel the avoda? Does it passel the carbon? For to passel the carbon, that's another darga. Is it? So that's the Bryce is saying if you're sitting b'shas avoda, any of the avodas, shchita, halacha, kabbalah, and zrika, the halacha is the carbon is passel. So now I understand.
If who is sitting?
If the kohen as he does it.
Sitting, okay.
So I understand shchita is shayach b'yeshiva. You're sitting as you're shechting. Kabbalah is shayach b'yeshiva. Zrika is b'yeshiva. How do you have a halacha b'yeshiva? How do you have a halacha when you're sitting? Teretz is Moshe Yad.
Yeah.
Right? You're sitting.
Yeah.
So you see from here that what? That Hashotas Yad. Yeah. Hashotas Yad is pasul only because he's Yoshev. The psul of Hashotas Yad is only because he's Yoshev. Because otherwise, how could you have a halacha when you're Yoshev? So his vaisto is the psul only because Yoshev. I made dumya de Yoshev. But let's say you do a Hashotas Yad while you're standing. Kosher. It's kosher. So what do you see? That a Hashotas Yad is a halacha. Okay? So the Gemara says, no, Dilma Yoshev de Kashayef Meshaf. You have a case of Yoshev by halacha if he drags himself on the floor. Instead of standing, he's dragging himself. Rila tell you Hashotas Yad is not a halacha. So how do you have a case of Yoshev by halacha? Right? If Hashotas Yad is not a halacha, so it's not a avoda. So how do you have a case of halacha when you're Yoshev, which the Brisa says it passes the carbon? Teretz is you have a case of halacha by Yoshev when you're dragging yourself.
The guy's sitting on the floor and he's dragging himself, pushing himself. Yeah.
And on that, Oimid Dumya de Yoshev denied portum. The parallel of Oimid to that would be as you're moving a little bit, right? Yeah. So that's a halacha. But you can't prove from this brisa that Hashotas Yad is a halacha because otherwise, how do you have halacha by Yoshev? I'll tell you, halacha by Yoshev is possible if you drag your body across the floor. Toshema. So again, we don't have a raya from that brisa. Toshema, I'll bring you a raya from a different brisa. Yeah? Shochat Yisrael the Kibbul HaKoyen. Right? The carbon Pesach. We know Shchitas Ksheira Bizarre. So the guy brings his carbon Pesach and he shechts it. The Kibbul HaKoyen and the son of Lachaveru, Lachaveru, Lachaveroi. The Koyen is Makabelit. Now, you can only imagine. Erev Pesach, Chatzois, after Chatzois, how many Kohanim were in the Azara, busy doing the Avodah on everybody's carbon Pesach?
How many carbon Pesach?
Thousands of Kohanim, probably.
They practiced for 2 weeks.
They practiced for 2 weeks. The Gemara Pesachim, where is it? Practiced 2 weeks.
How many million carbonas do they bring?
Up to 1,200,000.
Carbonas.
Yes.
So you
From Chatzos until...
Wow.
So you had, we have the factories, you have those conveyor belts, you have those. Yeah. So the Kehanim, instead of walking to the Mizbeach and back and forth, they handed it one to the other.
Right.
Right? Okay.
All assembly line.
So Gemara says, but nobody moved their feet. It was only a Hashotas Yad. And that constituted as a halacha. So you have a raya that a Hashotas Yad is a halacha. Says the Gemara. Wasn't the Hasan Nami denied the Purta? They moved their feet a little bit. Yeah, they moved their feet a tiny bit. So if they move their feet a tiny bit, what's the chiddush of each kohen handing it to his other friend, and each person moved.
I can't
Says
even
the Gemara, Micah Mashma, Barov Om Hadras Melech. Chiddush is that is a hidur. When so many kahanim are involved in the halachas hadan to the mizbeach, it's like the matzahs that's being passed around in the matzah bakery. Yeah, gavaldik. Yeah, each one is rolling. You say the next guy. It's saying hello. Very active. Yes. Okay. Zig the Gemara. Toshama. Okay. Nacharaya. So again, we don't have a raya whether shatas yad is shma halacha, right? So the Gemara says Toshama. Kibbel hakosher. Mishnah later says if the kohen kosher was makabel the dam, v'nosan leposel, and then he handed it to a posel kohen, yachzir la kosher. He has to give it back to the kosher. So what do you see from here?
That just being in the hand of the Pasal Kohen doesn't Pasal the Korban.
Right?
He's not allowed to do it, but it doesn't Pasal the Korban.
Yes. So in other words, the posel didn't walk with it. That's why he didn't passel it yet. That's why the kohen can still retrace and start over.
It does not make the puzzle.
Right.
Wow.
So the Gemara says no. Maybe he does make it possible. Ema yachzera kosher v'yekabla. Could be he has to retrace completely his steps, because if he uses the steps of the puzzle as part of his, journey from the makam hashchita to the mizbeach, it will take a puzzle.
Right.
So in other words, you don't have a raya that a shatas yad is a halacha or not a halacha, because it could be that really, I'll tell you, it is a halacha.
He's voiding it.
Right, he's voiding it. Yeah. I think like the Ben Ish Chai has a whole tshuva. If somebody does boirer in Shabbos, halacha is you can't eat the food. Right, it's Ma'aser Shabbos.
Right.
Says Shaila, what if you void it? What if you throw the pseilas back into the oichel? Yeah, you start over. Can you now eat the oichel?
1 second.
So a similar
Again,
concept.
So
Yeah?
what is it? What is he? He's saying he's being mafresh. What is he? On Shabbos.
The boirer. He does
Oh,
boirer.
I see. Well, yeah.
So over on boirer, now
Right.
it passes. You can't.
Right.
You can't eat the food.
Right.
Nice Shabbos.
Right.
Ben Ish Chai has a whole shaila. I'm not sure if he brings a rye from there or not, but can you void the boirer by putting the pseilas back in? Reversible, yeah. Okay, Itmer Amar Ulam Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan, the Heilige Rabbi Yochanan is going to give us some clarity. Halacha sheloi beregel loy shma halacha. Halacha without moving your feet is not called a halacha. Gemara wants to know efshel takune or loy efshel takune. So the Gemara says, if somebody did use a shatas yad, so it's not called a halacha. So can you go back and be masakin it? Okay. Says the Gemara Toshama, Kibbel HaKosher v'nosna pasel yachzer l'kosher. So mamish yisiyoveh can be masakin it. And he namid the yachzer HaKosher v'kablenu. So the Gemara says, even if you will say that the kohen has to go back and take the dam from the puzzle and be mamshech da'ilacha, he also needs to akaponim take the dam back from the puzzle and be mamshech da'ilacha. Anyway, the Gemara wants to prove from here that you could go retract and reverse the puzzle ha'ilacha. So the Gemara says, Isal gedaitech le'efshel hazakuna ipasla. If you say that ha'ilacha shaloi beregel lo yefshel takuna ipasla. So as soon as the puzzle took the dam, it became puzzle. What's it going to help? What's it going to help if the kohen goes back? So it must be that it does help. You could reverse it. So the Gemara says, no, it's not a raya. Misavers the koyzar gavoy. Loi the koyzar baroi. He wasn't standing closer to the mizbeach. He was standing farther away from the mizbeach. So his aishatas yad wasn't really mekariv the dam to the mizbeach in any which way. That's why it didn't pass it. So you can't bring a raya from over there. Itmar Amar Ulam Rabbi Yochanan. Okay, again, Rabbi Yochanan is going to give us a bottom line. Halacha psak, halacha shaloi beregel psula. Even if a kohen kosher does it, if he does halacha shaloi beregel, it passes it. Mamish unbelievable. So it's very interesting. So that means
again, what?
Means if a kohen just stretches his hand out without walking, it's halacha shaloi beregel. It passes the
In
carbon.
other words, he has to walk.
He has to walk, yeah.
Yeah.
In other words, any kiruv to the mizbeach, any step close to the mizbeach has to be through regel. It
Right.
can't be through Hashat Asiyad.
Okay. And how many steps does it make a difference? If he takes one step or 5 steps, does it make a difference?
As long as whatever you
No,
need,
what does it mean? That's whatever
Whatever you need.
That's what my question. What do you need?
depending how close you are to the mizbeach to begin with. Depends how close you are to the mizbeach to begin
In other
with.
words, a minimum of 1.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm asking.
1
Is that a
second.
minimum of 1?
Word of the Gemara says shlo b'regel, so it just means there was no regel movement. It means that the regel did not move.
So in other words, just shifting his feet might be close.
That's what the implication
Okay.
of the word is.
Okay, good.
That the regel has to move.
1 second, just and one last line. Alma lo yafshel l'tikun. From the fact that Rabbi Yoel and Paskins, a loch shloi b'regel psula, yeah, must be, when he says psula, it means there's no takana, right? Otherwise, it wouldn't be psula, right? It would, you just go back and reverse it. So the word psula wouldn't make sense. Okay. Okay, we'll stop over here. Miyatz Hashem. Tomorrow we finish the first parak of Zvachim.
Okay.
Wow.
Very good.
Wow.
Right.
And Rechavia is making Friday morning 7:30 Shachris in Beis Yaakov.
Right.
Le'ilu Nishmas, the mama.
It's my mom's